Dang, you guys. Literally, this edit that I'm doing right now was filmed like a year ago in November. There's been a lot going on this year, but all of it still relates. This is all has to do with the Honda Ruckus, the upgrades, and what steps you should take to get to the peak performance on it. If you don't know who I am, I'm Matt Burton. Rolling Wrench is my business. RollingWrenchNever.com right here. Enjoy the video. All the links for other videos that I refer to are down in the description, along with all the parts that I'm referring to. This is a video that I've been wanting to cover for a really long time. It's all has to do with the 2002 to 2018, maybe 2019. Right now it's being filmed in November of 2018. But anyway, same motor from 2002 to 2018. This also is the same motor found in the Honda Metropolitan from 2002 to 2012. So all the modifications I'm talking about apply, except for the exhaust might not fit on the Metro. So basically I have pretty much a brand new Get motor, 49cc stock Ruckus motor with 50 miles basically on it. I've got two of everything. There's two basic options for modifications. You have like the lower end and then the high end. So I have two exhaust pipes, two CDI boxes, two carburetors, two variator options. I've got two of everything. I just want to go over everything. I also want to like educate you on why you can't do a big bore kit on a Ruckus. Also, before I get into like all these modifications for the Get 49cc engine, if you're not familiar with the GY6 engine, that's a Chinese motor. Well, they have two different motors, GY6A made in China and a GY6B made in Taiwan. That's a motor that you can swap into your Honda Ruckus. It's called the GY6 and it's 150 cc's. They also make them in 125, but that's kind of rare. I just wanted to bring this to your attention if you're unfamiliar. There's no modifications on this table, which there's top-of-the-line modifications on this table, that will compete with that GY6 engine. So if you're a diehard Honda fan and you don't want to switch the motor, keep watching. If you're just curious, keep watching too, but this motor will not compete with the GY6, in my opinion. I'm just going to go over the basic modifications. I'm not going to show you like what each one does, like while I cruise. If you want to see that, comment below. I can do a video like that, like kind of like a step-by-step, like we'll do this modification, then on to the next one, and then just see what happens. I'm just going to educate right now. Normally, with any other scooter, I would say the best bang for your buck is a cylinder kit or a big bore kit. On the Get motor, you can't do that. As far as a cylinder kit, see this is a cylinder here. You can do a big bore kit, but it's very minor, like 58cc. Let me explain why you can't do that. Here's the engine block, and if I flip it over, it goes like this, okay? So like there's the dipstick there, and then here's the dipstick over here. So if you notice, like most scooters, your cylinder will just slide off. This is off of a Chinese scooter, but the cylinder will slide off. See, the Get motor is like a car. See the cylinder? It's all integrated in one. If I flip this up, I can pull this out. It's like this. See that cylinder? It doesn't come off. That's the whole entire block. So there's the reason why you can't do a big bore kit. You can if you buy a larger piston. Like I know Race Farm sells a kit. It's like 58 point something cc. I don't remember the exact. And then you take your engine case to the machinist and he'll bore this out. And then you just do the larger piston. But I just wanted to show you really quick, like what's the difference between this motor and the rest of the scooters. It doesn't have a removable cylinder. Alright, so if you're into the modification scene on the Honda Ruckus, or basically this is just a really good tool to have on your Honda Ruckus, get a tachometer. These tachs are super cheap, super easy to install. Literally, there's just one wire. This is the way it looks. No power. It's got a little watch battery in the back, and you wrap this wire around your spark plug wire 3 to 4 times, and it'll read the RPMs coming out of your engine. The stock RPM on the Honda Ruckus, the max stock, I think it's lower in some years, like 02 is 8,000, but anyway, 8,900. If you can't get past, let's just play safe, if you can't get past 8,000 RPM downhill, balls to the wall, you probably have an issue with your tuning, the jetting. Maybe you have an air leak in the airbox. The most common thing is your air filter isn't set right inside the air box there. So you always check that if you're having problems getting past 8,000 RPM. So that's step one. You want to make sure your Ruckus isn't having any problems on the higher end with just the stock tuning. So get a tach, that's step one. Dang, I was doing the video edit just a second ago and I realized that I said something that's a little bit confusing and not really true. So from 2002 to 2012, you have a rev limiter of 8,000 RPM. And I just told you, if you can't get past 8,000 RPM, then you have a problem. Well, if your rev limiter is set at 8,000, then you're never going to get past it. So let me clear things up. Let's turn the 8,000 into 7,800 or 7,500. If you can't get past that, if you have a 2002 to 2012 Ruckus, then you probably have a problem. I just wanted to clear that up because that could have been super confusing, and I'm glad I did. I'm actually going to link a video that I have on this subject for people that think they're hitting the rev limiter, but they're really not. It just feels like that. And that's because the air filter is not in its air box correctly. But I'm going to put that video down right here. But let's call that, if you can't get past 7,500, 7,800, then you have a problem. I hope that clears things up. All right, step two. Step two is going to have some controversy associated with it, but not if you listen to the whole thing. So step two is upgrade your CDI box. If you are not a big gearhead and you just plan to do very easy modifications, I recommend our EVI motor brain. This is a CDI and a coil in one. Removes the rev limiter and advances the timing. And it's 100% plug and play, no cutting or splicing of any sort. There is another option. So this would be like top of the line. Or you can go with the NCY CDI box. You only want to do this upgrade the CDI box if you've achieved the 8,000 RPM goal with your tach. Looking at your tach, going downhill, balls to the wall. You want to make sure of that. The other thing is the performance coil. So NCY performance coil and CDI box. This is not plug and play. That kind of freaks people out a little bit. You do have to cut and splice some wires, but this does work. But this is only removing the rev limiter, no advanced timing, and you lose the kill switch function. The other thing is upgrade to an Iridium spark plug. You're going to get a cleaner spark with this spark plug, and it will last a lot longer. So the reason why I say that it could be controversial for the NCY and motor brain CDI to be step two is because if you plan to go like balls to the wall with all of your modifications and you are a big gearhead, then you would definitely want to do CVT transmission before CDI box. But if you're just like a basic plug and play type guy, do the CDI box. So when I'm talking about CVT transmission, that is the belt and the weights, and there's a lot to it. I have a whole video on that. You can get. I'm not going to get into that, but you can. Basically, it's up under here. This is your CVT transmission, and it changes at what RPM the transmission comes on at. There's a lot of variables and tuning that you can do on this, and there's a couple different options. So I'm going to give you the low end option. You could just do like Dr. Pulley sliders. On a stock Honda Ruckus, you have rollers just like this, and we would upgrade to sliders. See the difference there? The lighter you go on these, there's 6 of them by the way, the higher the overall engine RPM is. So what we want to do is raise the overall engine RPM. These are a 4.5. I'd probably recommend a 5. You kind of have to play with it with your weight. But there is something you can do. You can go ahead and get a tuning kit. If you notice, it's got all the sizes. And what you do is you try different weights inside your variator to see which one's best for you. Generally, it's going to be between 4.5 and 5.5 for the best on a stock setup. If you want to take it one step further, then you can do a performance variator. This is the Polini. This is one of the most popular ones. And then you've got the NCY. I personally like the NCY better. It's got a Teflon coating over it. There's 3 steps to this. You can either just do performance variator, rollers, or sliders. These are rollers. Probably want to do this first if you're a big tuner. Then once you figure out the perfect size, you're going to choose your Dr. Pulley sliders. And if you want to take it even further, then you're going to buy a variator. And then there's one more step. This is our CVT transmission kit. This is completely tunable. This is like for you mega tuners. So you get the Teflon coated NCY variator with all the rollers. By the way, once you figure out the perfect rollers, which is generally around 6 grams, then you want to upgrade to Dr. Pulley sliders. You get the belt, you get 2 springs, you get the black clutch bell with holes drilled for cooling. We've got 2 springs, and you could even tune the springs that are back here. This is the secondary slider spring, and then you've got the clutch springs as well. So we've got this on the website as well. This is like the whole CVT transmission kit, everything you would need, excluding the Boss, which you would reuse on yours. So that's CVT transmission upgrades. You can choose which one you want. So step 1 is going to be get a tuning kit, play with the rollers, figure out what's best. Then you can upgrade to Dr. Pulley sliders, or you can just do this whole kit, comes with everything, or you can buy a variator, Polini, or NCY. They're both good. So there's a lot going on there, but that's CVT transmission tuning. So that can be upgrade number 3 or 2 depending on your scenario. So let's move on to 4. All right, let's talk about step 4. Step 4, just like the rest of the steps, have different directions you can go. But you need to find out first, basically how much money do you want to spend on step 4, or how far are you going to go with it. Otherwise, you're going to end up doing things twice. So we need to make the engine breathe better. So basically, you know, the CVT transmission is dialed in, you got the tach, everything is perfect. The rev limit's been deleted, advanced timing, everything is just as good as it can get. You just want to take it one step further. Imagine running a marathon with your hand over your mouth. Breathing in, breathing out. That's basically what your scooter's doing right now with this giant air box. You've got a 15mm carburetor in there right now, and we want to open up that airflow. More air in, more air out. We can do that with this kit that we have on our website. It's got an air filter, a free-flowing foam air filter, and a bunch of jets. There's 3 pilot jets which control the idle and the decel. If you're unfamiliar with jets, jets are basically a screw with a hole drill through it, and they're very precise. Depending on the number of the jet is how much fuel it delivers. So there's a little bit of trial and error to get the fueling right. I won't get into that too much. I've got videos on that as well. But you're going to use the stock 15mm carburetor. It'll go on the end of the carburetor. So instead of having this giant air box that doesn't breathe very well, you're using this really high flow, good breathing pod filter. But remember, you're still running the 15mm carburetor. We're working with what we got, and this is a diaphragm carburetor. So now that you got more air coming in, you want to do more air going out. And this could be step 5, but I like to do them together because if you have more air coming in, you need more air going out. The exhaust that I run with this, there's a few different options. This is one. It's a 16mm pipe size. If you go any larger than that with the stock carburetor, like a 26mm, it will run even slower than it ever did. So don't do that. 16mm exhaust. So that's the next upgrade. You got that exhaust and this intake, and it's going to require you rejetting the carburetor. If you want to go take it one step further, this is like the max we're going to do. This is a round slide carburetor. This comes with everything. This is a direct bolt-in. It's a 20mm carburetor. So remember, the stock was a 15, and that's a diaphragm carburetor. You use these slide carburetors for wide open, like racing, and the diaphragm is just a smoother transition. So this is a much better carburetor for performance, and it's going to come with all the jets, there's 6 jets, and then a coolant little block-off plate. There's a video for that, or at least I'll have one, and the throttle cable. Now, 20mm carburetor is going to give you a heck of a lot more airflow than that 15, and you're going to upgrade to a 25mm pipe. See how big that is? If you do this with the stock carburetor, you're in big trouble. Don't do it. Only do this big of a pipe if you're doing the 20mm round slide carburetor. To make things a little bit less confusing, I'm going to go to like the more budget upgrades. I'll show you that first, and then I'll show you like the best of the best upgrades. Again, remember this is only external parts. We're not getting inside the motor. We're not doing titanium valves, camshaft, light and flywheel, big bore kit, anything inside the engine. Okay, so step 1, get a tachometer. Step 2, CVT transmission work. So you can either just do this tuning kit, or you can buy this tuning kit together with either NCY variator or a Polini variator. Then you're going to do NCY CDI box with NCY coil and Iridium spark plug. This is basically the ignition kit that we have on the website. And then you'll do a pod style filter, comes with the jets, and then you'll do a 16mm performance exhaust. So this is like the budget way of doing things. Now I'll go in and show you like balls to the wall, best of the best, the most you're going to get out of your GET motor. And now for the ultimate super mega ultra upgrade. The best you can do with the GET motor without getting into the engine, doing titanium valves, lightening the flywheel, or doing big bore kit. Step 1, get a tach. Step 2, we got this complete CVT transmission kit. You don't have to do it this way. This is the way that I recommend, because this clutch, unlike the stock clutch, is completely tunable. Not only that, is we sell the tuning kit with the variator. And just note, you'll need to, once you figure out the perfect variator weight, you'll need to upgrade to sliders, but you're probably going to run 6 gram. So there's the transmission kit. Then our EVI motor brain, which is 100% plug and play, no cutting or splicing of any type, removes the rev limiter, you keep the kill switch, advances the timing, and it's a performance coil in one. And then the very next step is 20mm carburetor with intake boot attached, with throttle cable, 6 jets, and the coolant block off tube. And then along with that is a NCY 26mm exhaust. Do all these together and you'll achieve maximum that you can do without getting inside the motor, in my opinion. So that'll pretty much max out your GET motor. Honestly, in my opinion, I would do the GY6, but you should. It's not for everybody. Some people like just the stock Honda Ruckus motor, but the GY6 rattles quite a bit. It's nothing like the smooth sewing machine GET motor. So there is something to that. The GET motor is super fun to upgrade, super smooth. You get that Honda reliability. Not to say the GY6 is unreliable, but it's not a Honda. So that's what I've got. That's my, let's call it 5 performance, step-by-step performance tips. I'm going to get out of here. Till next time, we'll see you in the next video. And I'm Dan Todd.